This Saturday is UFC Fight Night Edmonton Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi, and this is going to be my full card predictions. We'll discuss every single fight on the card. I believe it's 14 fights on this card. This Fight Night card is decent. It's not great. I'm not super pumped for it, but it's definitely a step above like a UFC Apex card, and I'm really looking forward to the return of Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. So let's jump right into it with the first fight of the night. We have Horth versus Ivana Petrović. I mean, talk about a banger. This should be co-main event to start it off. This is going to be a barn burner. This is a better matchup than Yuri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira 1, on paper, at least. I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic. This is low-level women's MMA. This is a coin flip fight. Could go either way. What it comes down to is, I think, the grappling advantage for Ivana Petrović. She came into the UFC, lost to Luana Carolina in a competitive fight. Her last fight, she got a submission against Nia Leong. Horth lost against Veronica Hardy in her last fight. It was a split decision. It was a close fight, but Veronica Hardy basically won with some grappling. She mixed in the grappling, was close on the feet. And I think that's kind of how this fight's going to go down. I mean, Petrovic's former Aries champion hasn't fought the best opposition. I mean, 3 fights ago or 4 fights ago, she's fighting a girl who's 2-0. She lost to Luana Carolina, beat Na Liang, who's okay. But Horth was fighting straight up scrubs. Haley Conway. So I basically think this fight's going to be competitive on the feet. And I think Petrović will mix in the grappling, mix in the clinch work. And I think in some of those super close rounds, I think Ivana Petrović will edge it out. So I'm going to go 29-28 decision win for Ivana Petrović in the first fight of the night. Next fight on the card, we have Chad Anheliger versus Cody Gibson. This is a matchup that, you know, if you still play the UFC video games or even in the past, you get like a mirror matchup. This is a mirror matchup. This is the closest to a mirror matchup as you can get in real life. They're both 37 years old. You know, they're not the same height or have the same reach, but they have very similar styles. They're kind of gritty, have decent striking, don't really have a lot of power, have decent stamina. They're both old. I think I already said that, both 37 years old. Chad Anheliger's coming off a win against Haralampos Gregorio, was getting out grappled a bit in that fight. Won on the feet, landed the more damaging shots on the feet. Before that, lost to Jose Johnson, rear naked choke. Before that, lost to Alatong Haley. Cody Gibson coming in off a win over Brian Kelleher, where he kind of mauled him to the ground in arm triangle. Before that, lost to Miles Johns and Brad Katona, which I think are worse losses than Alatong Haley and Jose Johnson. I think what this fight comes down to is, I think Cody Gibson's going to be faster on the feet, probably a little bit better striker, and he has a massive reach advantage. His reach advantage is a 7-inch reach advantage. And I also think Cody Gibson's going to be able to out-grapple him. He's going to push the pace. He's going to use volume. He's going to mix in the grappling. He'll get some control time. Haralampos Gregorio was getting tired in the third round. And that's when Chad Anheliger was really able to, land some decent shots on the feet and not really succumb to the top control and be able to scramble out from underneath of him, where he wasn't really able to do it as much in the second round, if I'm recollecting that correctly. I think Cody Gibson will go in there, be very competitive, mix in the grappling, get some top control, do some ground and pound. Look, full disclaimer, I'm picking a lot of decisions on this card. I'm going to go Cody Gibson via decision. Even though they're the same age, I just think he's kind of younger. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I think the striking is equal. I think Cody Gibson's a little bit faster and maybe has a little bit more power. And Chad Anheliger just seems so much older in there. Like, watching back some of their fights, I rewatched, the Haralampos Gregorio fight for Chad Anheliger. I watched back the Brian Kelleher fight and the Miles Johns fight for Cody Gibson. I just think Cody Gibson looks fresher in there. I'm going Cody Gibson via decision. I'm going to say 30-27 decision for Cody Gibson, but I think it'll be a pretty competitive fight. Next fight on the card, we have Serhiy Sidey versus Garrett Armfield. This is an interesting matchup because you have Serhiy Sidey coming in, or I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. I think it might be Siri City, to be honest. I don't remember. So anyway, Sidey, he's coming in off a loss against Raymond Tavares. He lost via split decision. Most people thought he won that fight. It was back and forth. They were hurting each other, but I'm pretty sure most people were in agreement that Tavares won that fight, or Tavares lost that fight. And it was a rematch where Sidey had finished him before, but it was an early stoppage. But it was a good fight overall. And that was his first fight in his UFC. He looked really good. He looked slick on the feet, had good power, good variety of attacks, nonstop pressure. And then you have Garrett Armfield, who had a crazy fight with Brady Highstand in his last fight, where he ended up getting submitted. He defended a lot of submission attempts. It was a fight where they were scrambling a lot. But what I think this fight is, they both like to keep it standing, and I think Siri City is better on the feet. I think Garrett Armfield's going to have to grapple in this fight if he wants to win. And I don't know if he has it in him to just go out there and grapple Serhiy Sidey. I hope I'm saying that right. I like Garrett Armfield. I think I picked him. Yeah, I picked him against Brad Katona. I don't think a lot of people were picking him against Brad Katona. I picked him against Kazama, I'm pretty sure. His last loss before Brady Highstand was David Onama, which isn't a horrible loss, and that was a while ago. They're both 28 years old. Height and reach advantage for Serhiy Sidey. I think Serhiy Sidey's just way crisper on the feet, and I think nonstop pressure. I think Armfield might have a slight power advantage, but I'm not really confident that that's going to somehow, get the respect. I think Armfield's going to be shooting takedowns in this fight. And, he almost submitted Brady Highstand. I think I picked him against Brady Highstand as well. I'm not confident in this fight for him. I think Sidey is going to be the more polished striker. He's decently defensively responsible. He did take a decent amount of damage against Tavares, but that was 9 months ago at this point, which is crazy. That doesn't even seem like that long ago. So I'm going to pick Serhiy Sidey. I'm going to pick another decision. I'm going to pick him to just outstrike him. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think Armfield's going to be grappling, and I think Sidey has good enough takedown defense where he's not going to get brutally out-grappled by Garrett Armfield. So I'm going Sidey via decision. Next fight on the card. Oh, we have Alexander Romanov versus Rodrigo Nascimento. Who do you pick? And heavyweight's so shit, guys. It really is so shit. I don't even know. Who do we pick in this one? Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I can ever pick Alexander Romanov again. He lost to Jourdain Almeida. Okay, there's no shame in that. He shows up out of shape for every fight. Fight before that, beat Blagoy Ivanov. Didn't look particularly good in that fight. Fight before that, lost to Alexander Volkov. Looked like absolute dog shit. Gassed in a minute. Fight before that, lost to Marcin Tybura. Romanov has good top control, has good submissions, has decent power. But he shows up looking like Chris Barnett every fight, it seems like recently. I forget which fight it was. I want to say it was the Chase Sherman fight, which was 2.5 years ago. He showed up in great shape. And it's like, oh man, this is going to be a new heavyweight contender. People were actually talking about his, people were fantasizing over his body, basically. Grown men were talking about, oh, look at his six-pack. And then since then, he's coming in looking like Chris Barnett every single fight. And he has the fact he gassed out in 1 minute against Alexander Volkov made me never want to pick him again. Now, Nascimento's coming in off a KO loss against Derrick Lewis. He was winning that fight before he got KO'd. Everyone's winning the fight against Derrick Lewis till they get KO'd. Before that, beat Dontel Mays. Before that, beat Atir Latifi. Went split decision with him and Tanner Boser, which isn't a good look. Rodrigo Nascimento has good jiu-jitsu. And I think that his striking is good enough. And I think he has better stamina. This is what it comes down to. I don't think Romanov's going to chin him early. I don't think Romanov's going to ragdoll him and sub him. They're both, have plenty of submissions on their resume. They both have really good jiu-jitsu. And basically, I think Nascimento is less of a fat ass. Okay? That's basically what this fight is. Who actually trained more? I swear on my life, some of these heavyweights, their training regimen is the same as mine, basically. That's what it seems like. So, I don't trust... If Romanov shows up to the weigh-ins, okay, if he shows up to the weigh-ins and he's got six-pack abs, mark me down for Romanov via decision. If he doesn't look chiseled, he doesn't look ripped, Nascimento decision. You know what? Actually, I'm going to pick Nascimento late second round submission. If Romanov shows up out of shape, he's going to gas out in a minute, and then maybe he survives on the ground, but eventually I think Nascimento's jiu-jitsu is good enough. So if Romanov's in shape, I'll pick him via decision. If he's not, I'll take Nascimento. I'll say early second round sub. I'll say Romanov's gassed 2 minutes in. I'll say mid-second round. I'll say rear naked choke. Let's see. What does he have recently? He doesn't have any submissions recently. I don't know. Then I'll take, I'll take Nascimento via decision. Screw it. I'm just picking nothing but decisions. But I feel like Romanov's going to gas. You know what? I'm just going to stick with it. I'm just going to say Nascimento second round sub. That's my final pick, unless Romanov shows up in shape. Next fight on the card, we have Jack Shore versus Youssef Zalal. This is actually like a low-key banger, to be honest. I really like this fight. Jack Shore's coming off that weird loss against Joe Anderson Brito, where the doctor stopped it because of a cut to his shin. What the hell was that doctor doing? Before that, beat Makwan Amirkhani, who's a straight-up scrub. Justice for Mike Grundy was served there. Before that, lost to Ricky Simone. Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't think 145 is the home for Jack Shore. I think he didn't even look that ripped at 135, and then he's moving up to 45, and now he's looked like shit at 145. I used to be high on him. He beat Timur Valiev, and it was a good fight. He was a decent prospect at bantamweight. He doesn't have the size for featherweight. Youssef Zalal was fighting at the Kentucky State Fair for a couple years after he left the UFC. One of the few guys that I think even took around against Ilia Topuria and went to decision with Ilia Topuria. And I think Youssef Zalal is really, really good. Really good footwork, really good jiu-jitsu, really good submission ability, really good striking, decent power, decent fight IQ, good leg kicks. I can't say enough positives about Youssef Zalal. Dude took his talents to the Kentucky State Fair for a couple years, beat the shit out of no-names, and then he came back to the UFC. He beats Billy Q via submission, dominant win. Beats Jourdain, submission. He's 28 years old. I'm picking Youssef Zalal in this fight. I think Jack Shore's good enough where he'll survive. I could see Zalal like hurting him and maybe taking his back and getting a sub and just out-muscling him because I do believe Youssef Zalal is the bigger fighter here. But I don't know. I think Jack Shore's solid enough. He's got good striking. He's got good grappling. I thought he would be a legit contender at bantamweight at one point in time. Not like definitely like a title contender, but like I thought he'd be like, okay, he'll get into the top 15 at least. You know, some of that back, maybe that back end of the top 15. But at 145, I just don't think he has the size. I just think he's too pudgy, to be quite honest. So I'm going to pick Youssef Zalal. I'm going to say he just outstrikes him to a decision, mixes in the grappling enough, gets some control time, and does some decent damage, decent control. I'm going to pick Youssef Zalal. I'm going to say 30-27 decision win for Youssef Zalal. Next fight on the card, we have Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. Listen, Victor Henry, I have my suspicions about, if we're being honest here. And nobody ever talks about it. This dude, I swear on my life, faked a groin shot against Javid Basharat because he knew he was getting his ass whooped. He's 37 years old. I feel like people overhyped him for beating Hani Barcelos, I think it was. And I don't think really Victor Henry's that good. I don't. He's 37 years old, going on 38. He's got a reach and height disadvantage, even though it's not substantial. And he's fighting Charles Jourdain, who I think is pretty solid everywhere. He's coming off 2 losses, but it's Jean Silva and Sean Woodson. And Sean Woodson fight was a split decision. Before that, beat Ricardo Ramos, beat Kron Gracie, the homeless man. And before that, lost to Nathaniel Wood. You know, I think they both have fought decent opposition. Bantamweight is really, really stacked in general. But I'm taking the 28-year-old over the 38-year-old who's getting his ass whooped and then fakes a groin shot and says, oh, I can't fight anymore. And I know people probably say, Joey, what are you talking about? That's not true. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. I think it was the acting show that he put on. He knew he was losing. He wanted to try to get a DQ win. He did not. I think Charles Jourdain's really solid on the feet, has really good grappling, submission ability. But I think Victor Henry's pretty durable. He's not easy to finish by any means. Even when he lost to Rafael Sunsao. He even looked decent in that fight. Yeah, I think it was the Hani Barcelos fight people hyped him up off of because he had a really good performance there. And then he fought Rafael Sunsao, and the majority of us picked him. Oh, Sunsao's washed up. And then he lost to Sunsao. I don't think he's that good. Split decision against Cody Gravely, then the Javid Basharat, and then he beat Ronnie Yaya in his last fight. TKO'd him. Ronnie Yaya is a straight-up scrub. Okay, has decent jiu-jitsu. Outside of that, straight-up scrub, and is 40 years old, but looks like he's 70. So I'm picking Charles Jourdain. I'm picking the Canadian. I think this is a matchup. They sent him, they sent him to, or not, I guess they didn't send him, but they put him on the Canada card to kind of help, build that fan base for Canadian fighters. I think Charles Jourdain gets it done. I'm going to pick Charles Jourdain via decision. I could see him getting a TKO. But Victor Henry is pretty durable. But who knows? Victor Henry might fake another foul if he starts losing anyway and try to get a DQ win. But, yeah, I'm going to go Charles Jourdain to get it done via decision. Next fight on the card. Ariane De Silva, otherwise known as Ariane Lipski, versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Jasudavicius? I don't remember. Forgive me, guys. There's so many names. And it's hard to remember how to pronunciate each one of them. Look, I feel like the majority of people are going to go with gut instinct and pick Jasmine Jasudavicius. She's coming off 2 wins, Priscilla Cachoeira and Fatim Klein. Before that, lost to Tracy Cortez. Before that, beat Miranda Maverick and Gabriel Fernandez. Ariane Lipski's coming off a loss against Karine Silva. Before that, beat Casey O'Neill, beat Melissa Gatto, beat JJ Aldridge, and lost to Priscilla Cachoeira. I think Ariane Lipski has gotten leaps and bounds better since that loss to Priscilla Cachoeira, who has nasty power and is a cheater. And I know she lost to Karine Silva, but Karine Silva is like a legit flyweight contender, in my opinion. I'm not sure if she's ranked right now. I'm pretty sure she is. So I don't really think there's any shame in losing to Karine Silva via decision. I think Ariane De Silva, I keep wanting to call her Lipski, I think is the better fighter. Jasmine Jasudavicius, whatever the hell it is. Good pressure, good volume, good stamina. Lipski's got good footwork, throws in her kicks quite well, mixes everything in quite well, has decent grappling, has submission ability, is getting better with every fight, is younger, and I think she gets it done. I think she outstrikes her. I think, we never really seen Lipski completely gas. And again, I think every single fight she's getting better. I know this is kind of low-level women's MMA, maybe like mid-tier level women's MMA, but I think Lipski is hitting her prime. I really do believe. I think I talked about this before the Casey O'Neill fight. I said every single fight, Lipski's getting better. De Silva's getting better. And I think she's going to improve here. And I don't think Jasmine Jourdain is that good. And I'm picking Ariane De Silva to get it done. Again, decision. I'm going to say this is a close competitive fight. Maybe it's a controversial scorecard. I'm going to say Lipski gets it done. 29-28 split decision. Next fight on the card, we have Aiemann Zahabi versus Pedro Munhoz. Who do you pick in this one? They're both old. Aiemann Zahabi looking like Ariel Helwani. Pedro Munhoz on a 2-fight losing streak has only won 1 fight in his last 5 fights, which is insane. And he just lost to Kyler Phillips, who just looked like an absolute scrub against Rob Font, which is crazy. I swear Kyler Phillips was using PEDs in that fight. His only win in the last 5 fights against Chris Gutierrez. Aiemann Zahabi coming off a win against Javid Basharat. I think I thought he lost that fight, but it was close. Before that, Caio to Richie Lang. Or Aorchi. I don't even know. Either way, you get the point. Before that, beat Ricky Tercios, Draco Rodriguez. Listen, Zahabi has good KO power. Pedro Munhoz has a granite chin. Pedro Munhoz usually has this massive reach disadvantage. And this fight's not too bad. It's 3.5 inches. I think Pedro Munhoz is better. Zahabi has decent power, has decent grappling. Munhoz is not easy to take down and control. Munhoz is really actually underrated. I think he was criminally underrated for a while. I know he's on the downslope of his career, but Zahabi's 36 years old, going to 37 himself. He's about to be 37. I'm going to pick Pedro Munhoz. Good leg kicks. I think Zahabi's really heavy on that lead leg, and I see Pedro Munhoz really chopping the legs early, often, landing the better combinations. I don't see Zahabi rocking him or chinning him because Pedro Munhoz has a good chin unless it's completely disappeared in his older age. And Pedro Munhoz, even not that long ago, the Sean O'Malley fight. I mean, that was kind of a bit ago. He won the first round before he got brutally eye-poked, and then Sean O'Malley just claimed victory anyway and moved up the rankings somehow. I'm going to pick Pedro Munhoz to get it done. I don't think a loss against Kyler Phillips on PEDs, EPO probably, and a loss against Marlon Vera is that bad. And he could have won that fight against Marlon Vera. That should have been a split decision, even though it says unanimous here. I'm going to go Pedro Munhoz to get it done. I'm going to say 30-27 decision win for Pedro Munhoz against Aiemann Zahabi. Next fight on the card, the first fight on the main card here, we have Mike Malott versus Trevin Giles. Look, I'm going to be honest. My gut is telling me to pick Mike Malott. I just don't know if I can pick him. After that Neil Magny fight, I just don't know if I can pick Mike Malott. And Trevin Giles is sneaky good. I know a lot of people probably look at his record and think he's a bum. He got KO'd by Carlos Prates in his last fight. No shame in that. Lost to Gabriel Bonfim via submission. No shame in that. Beat Preston Parsons. Beat Luis Cosay. Lost to Michael Morales. He used to be at middleweight. Lost to Dricus Duplessis. Giles is really good on the feet. He's fast. He's kind of got this kind of weird striking style. He moves in and out well. But I think Mike Malott probably can out-grapple him. Mike Malott has decent grappling, decent submission ability. He was dominating Neil Magny until he gassed in the 3rd round and got finished by Neil Magny. What a complete and utter embarrassment that was. And I believe that was on a Canada pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken. Before that, beat Adam Fugit. Before that, beat Johan Linnes. Before that, beat Mickey Gall. I have a feeling somehow Trevin Giles is going to pull this off, but you don't go off feelings. And my gut instinct, recently I've been sticking to my gut instincts more because every time I have a gut instinct and then I change my pick and I'm kind of looking at tape and I'm changing my mind, I'm usually end up being wrong. So I'm going to stick with Mike Malott on this, even though who knows, he could fumble the bag again in Canada. I'm going to pick him to get it done via submission. I could see Trevin Giles getting taken down, controlled, beat up a bit, end up in the rear naked choke. I'm going to say Mike Malott, 2nd round rear naked choke over Trevin Giles. He improved his cardio since the Neil Magny loss. He learned a lot, against Neil Magny. Neil Magny's teaching these young whippersnappers. He's teaching them. And did he spank Mike Malott? So I think Mike Malott might have learned his lesson, okay? He got spanked by Neil Magny, brutally spanked by Neil Magny. And I think he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder against Trevin Giles and gets it done. I mean, it's now or never. I don't think he's ever going to be a legit contender. He's already 32 years old, going on 33. So I'm going to go Mike Malott, 2nd round rear naked choke against Trevin Giles, just out-muscling him in the grappling. Next fight on the card, we have Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I don't think Dustin Stoltzfus is that good. You know, his last fight he lost to Bruno Ferreira. Not really a shame in that. And he was doing decent in that fight before he got brutally chinned with a nasty spinning back elbow. Before that, beat Punahele Soriano. Before that, lost to Abus Magomedov. We know how good Abus is after that recent win over Bruno Ferreira. You know, I don't know. Stoltzfus is good everywhere. And I say that kind of sarcastically, but he's good everywhere. He's decently well-rounded for his mid-tier level fighting. Chin is a little bit sus. He's taken a lot. I mean, he's gotten finished quite a bit. Marc-Andre Barriault, he got put down bad by Joe Pyfer. Face down, ass up, back shots dead. And I don't know how much he's recovered from that. It's only been 4 months. I think he's returning a little bit too soon. Before he lost to Chris Curtis via split decision. That was a competitive fight. Beat Eric Anders, Julian Marcos. Oh my God, the stamina in that Julian Marcos fight was really solid. I'm going to pick Marc-Andre Barriault. I think Dustin Stoltzfus is a little bit more dynamic on the feet with his kicks, but I think Marc-Andre Barriault has good boxing, is defensively responsible, and I think he probably has more power in his hands, and I also think he can mix in the grappling threat. And one thing, if this fight ends up being like, I could see Stoltzfus like hearting Barriault early and then kind of gassing himself out, blowing his load, pause. And I could see Barriault coming on strong later. And I mean, he's not called the power bar for nothing, okay? I'm going to pick Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm going to say third round TKO. I think Stoltzfus blows his load early, looking for a finish. Maybe that's not there. Barriault survives, mixes in his grappling to survive. And then later in the fight is just walking him down, busting him up. And I'm going to say TKO's a mid-third round TKO for Marc-Andre Barriault. Next fight on the card, we have Caio Machado versus Brenson Ribeiro. Caio Machado lost his last 2 fights, lost to Dontel Mays, lost to Mick Parkin. If you lost those 2 fights, I'm not picking you. You lost to Dontel Mays, I'm not picking you. Dontel Mays is literally a scrub. So in my opinion, Caio Machado is literally a scrub. Ribeiro lost to Magomed Gadziev Sulov, who actually is a decent prospect. It was kind of a competitive fight, if I'm not mistaken. And then before that, got absolutely brutally KO'd by Ming Yang Zhang. And I mean, Ming Yang Zhang is an absolute savage. I mean, he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's aggressive, he's fast. And Caio Machado is just kind of one of these like middleweights that doesn't feel like getting down to middleweight, rather just be fat and fight at heavyweight. I know that people are going to be commenting down below, Joe, you have no room to talk. You have no, I'm not claiming to be a professional elite level athlete, okay? That's not, you know, when someone comes out to me, hey, what do you do for a living, man? I don't go, oh yeah, I fight in the UFC at the heavyweight division. You know, that's what these guys do. So they're supposed to be training full time and be jacked. So Caio Machado lost to Dontel Mays, you know, lost to Mick Parkin, got out grappled by Mick Parkin. I think Brenson Ribeiro, I think he's going to come out here and get in a brutal KO. He's got nasty power. Let's see if he has he has a 3-inch reach advantage. He actually doesn't have a height advantage. Is this going to be, this has got to be heavyweight, right? Am I not mistaken? Is this down going to be, this is actually a 205. He went down to 205. So Caio Machado might actually show up in better shape. I was looking at Tapology here, and it said heavyweight, but then I looked, wait a second. No, Brenson Ribeiro is light heavyweight. So I think Caio Machado might look a little bit better at light heavyweight, but I'm not going to bank on that. I think Brenson Ribeiro, too aggressive, too fast. Caio Machado has been fighting those slow, old heavyweights. Hasn't fought anyone as aggressive and powerful and fast and violent as Brenson Ribeiro. I'm picking Brenson Ribeiro. I'm going to say first round KO, brutal first round KO for Brenson Ribeiro. Next fight on the card, featured fight on the card, Derrick Lewis versus Hanata Diniz. I don't feel like I picked Derrick Lewis fights that well. I think I picked Nascimento. No, I might have picked Derrick Lewis. Let me actually check that real quick. Let me fact check that real quick. Who did I pick? I think I might have picked Derrick Lewis. I can't remember here. I did pick Derrick Lewis. Okay, I did pick him. I was wrong. I was second guessing myself there. So I picked that right. I picked Jourdain Almeida to beat him. I picked him to lose to Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He's fighting in Utah. Who's going to pick him to win? Picked him to lose to Spivak. Picked him to lose to Pavlovich. So I'm decent at picking Derrick Lewis's fights. It didn't feel like that. And I didn't even move up on the thing. Derrick Lewis versus Hanata Diniz, I think is how you pronounce it. My bad. I was looking at Tapology on my other page and using the UFC website for graphics. This fight could go either way, if I'm being honest. Derrick Lewis, I don't think he's that good. He has just ungodly power. And he just knocks dudes dead left and right. Renato Diniz has good striking. He's coming off a winner against Carl Williams where he didn't grapple at all. Beat Austin Lane via KO, which isn't really saying much. I don't know, man. I really don't. This is a coin flip fight. I'm going to say Derrick Lewis gets flatlined. I don't think he's that good. I'm probably going to end up being wrong. Every time I pick Derrick Lewis, it seems like I'm wrong, even though I was just going through the predictions and I'm not that wrong. I think Renato Diniz, undefeated, good chin, can mix in the grappling, I think, a little bit. Derrick Lewis, I don't know. He looked decent against Jourdain. I made it surviving, but still got taken down with ease. Derrick Lewis also has underrated kicks. They're actually very fast. I'm going to pick Diniz to get it done. It may end up being the dumbest pick of my life because Derrick Lewis is just losing until he wins every time. I'm banking on Derrick Lewis falling off. He's almost 40 years old. I'm going to go Renato Diniz, who's 33 years old, undefeated, good KO power, good technical boxing. He's going to avoid the big shots of Derrick Lewis and then eventually KO him. I'm going to pick Renato Diniz, first round KO. Next fight on the card, we have Erin Blanchfield, Rose Namajunas in the women's flyweight division. This was originally supposed to be the main event. It's still 5 rounds. Look, I don't know. I really don't know sometimes. My gut instinct is to go with Erin Blanchfield because Rose, I think she really did a huge disservice going away from, I can picture his face, but I can't picture his name. Trevor Whitman. Sorry, I don't know. I just had a hiccup there. Trevor Whitman. And focusing solely on having Pat Barry give her corner advice. But to be fair, she beat Tracy Cortez, but Tracy Cortez is a scrub who's wearing eyelashes during the fight. She cares more about looking good than actually winning. Before that, beat Amanda Ribas. Before that, lost to Amanda Fiore. Before that, lost to Carla Esparza. Erin Blanchfield got exposed a bit in her last fight against Amanda Fiore, but I think Amanda Fiore is going to walk through Valentina Shevchenko. Mark that down. Remember, Joey called that. So I don't think it's a horrible loss. And Rose is kind of undersized for the weight class, and Erin Blanchfield's really strong with her grappling. Erin Blanchfield went 5 rounds with Amanda Fiore, didn't get finished there. I'm going to pick Erin Blanchfield. I don't trust Pat Barry as a coach. You tell me Pat Barry is coaching you, I'm picking you to fail every time. I don't trust Pat Barry. I don't think anyone trusts Pat Barry, to be quite honest. So listen, how is Blanchfield going to get it done? Rose has decent jiu-jitsu. I'm going to pick Blanchfield just to win with her grappling. I think it's going to be a boring fight. I could see Rose stuffing some takedowns, landing some strikes early, maybe winning the first or second round, and then Blanchfield finally gets a takedown, and it seems like the floodgates open up. And I think she'll just win with her grappling. She has 3-inch reach advantage. They're same height. 25 years old for Erin Blanchfield. It all just comes down to, I think Rose is on the decline. I used to be a big believer in Rose. I picked her to KO Joanna Jacek. I picked her to beat her in the rematch. I picked her in a lot of big fights. I didn't pick her against Weili Zhang, so I failed on that one. But I think Erin Blanchfield, I think it comes down to she should be in the strawweight division. I think Erin Blanchfield's just too much with her wrestling in this fight. I think she's going to be able to out-grapple her, get some positional control, get some damage. I could even see her maybe finding a submission, but Carla Esparza didn't find one. So, and Rose has been working on her grappling. She may even mixed it in the Weili fight, the second fight. That's why she won that fight. But I think this is a different weight class. There's different, there's a different strength level at flyweight than there is at strawweight. And I think that Erin Blanchfield gets it done. 5-round fight. Maybe Blanchfield finds a submission somewhere. If I picked her via submission, I would pick her like 3rd or 4th round rear naked choke. But I'm going to say Erin Blanchfield gets it done via decision. I'm going to say close fight, 48-47 decision. Next fight on the card, we have Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. Why does that weird graphic keep showing up? I don't know why. Oh, there we go. It's the return of Brandon Moreno and the return of Amir Albazi. Brandon Moreno has not fought in about 8 months. He last fought Brandon Royval, and Albazi hasn't fought in a year and a half. Had some injury issues, and I think even had a heart problem at one point in time. 17-1, hasn't lost in forever against Brandon Moreno, former flyweight champion. Coming off 2 losses, the Brandon Royval fight was razor close. Split decision loss for him. Fight before that against Pantoja was a split decision loss. In another universe, Brandon Moreno is still champion. And I was really high on Brandon Moreno for a long time, and I even think he'd still beat Pantoja. I know he's lost to him a couple times now. He has really crisp boxing. He has really good grappling. And he even has decent power. He's not like brutal one-punch KO power, but he's got decent power. He finished, Deiveson Figueiredo, finished Caio France in his last 2 wins. And Amir Albazi's been out for a while. But Amir Albazi's really solid. I was rewatching his fight with Caio France. I know a lot of people thought he lost that fight, but it was very, very competitive. And it was on the feet the majority of the time. And he had some back control. He almost got a rear naked choke, I think, in the 3rd round. And Caio France is one of the best anti-grapplers in the flyweight division. I would pick Caio France over Alessandro Pantoja right now. But I think Amir Albazi, he might be too strong for Brandon Moreno. And I think maybe all this time off, he's improved quite a bit. Brandon Moreno, I feel like the last few times, I don't know. I feel like in the Brandon Royval fight, I feel like he looked a little bit dejected in that fight. Maybe he's checked out. Maybe he's too busy playing with his Legos or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying here. Listen, Amir Albazi has a size advantage. I think Amir Albazi, if he gets into some of those same positions that Pantoja gets in by creating back exposure and takedown attempts and shoots in on a takedown, but maybe Moreno stuffs it, then ends up shucking around to the back, getting the body lock from the back position. I think Albazi can kind of, I don't want to say ragdoll him from there, but get some good control time, take the back, land some damage. Similar to Pantoja. I'm not saying Albazi has the same jiu-jitsu level as Pantoja, but I could also see this fight contested on the feet, and I think Albazi has a good shot on the feet as well. Caio France was doing very well until that body kick that put him down bad. So I think this is a fight that could go either way. Let's see what people are picking on Tapology. 63% are picking Moreno. I hate when I look at the percent. I usually don't look at the percentages because I don't want them to influence my pick. I'm really torn on this one. But listen, Albazi's 17-1. Moreno's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. And he's taken a lot of damage. Albazi has not taken a lot of damage at all throughout his career. He's won his fights pretty cleanly outside of the Caio France fight. And he didn't even take a lot of damage in that fight either. And he's had time off, but it's not too long. It's not like he's been out for 2.5 years. It's not like he's coming back from brutal ACL surgeries or anything like that. I'm going to go Amir Albazi. I think he gets it done. I think he's going to be too big, too strong. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Albazi has more power on the feet as well. And I think Moreno's going to have to respect the grappling. And I think that a lot of this fight is going to be Albazi shooting on takedowns, getting some control time, and Moreno fighting to work his way back up. And I think Albazi will land some ground and pound in those exchanges. And then rinse, repeat. I'm going to pick Amir Albazi to get it done. I think he beats Brandon Moreno, and I think he's going to earn himself a title shot here. I know we got the title fight later this year, Alessandro Pantoja versus Kai Asakura in his UFC debut, getting a title shot. I think Albazi's going to earn a title shot here. I think he's going to beat up Brandon Moreno. I haven't picked against Brandon Moreno in so long. I'm questioning it. I genuinely don't even remember the last time I picked against Brandon Moreno. I picked him in every Deiveson Figueiredo fight. I picked him against Caio France. I picked him against Pantoja. Did I pick him against Pantoja? I think I did. And I picked him against Brandon Royval. In another universe, he could still be champion. But I think Amir Albazi has good enough striking, has the threat of the grappling, and if they're close to even on the feet, I could see that grappling and that positional control being the difference in this fight. I'm going to pick Amir Albazi. I'm going to say 48-47 decision. I think it's going to be another close fight, potentially even a controversial decision, potentially even a split decision for Amir Albazi. That's what I'm going to go with. This is a solid main event. Card's not great, but I'm looking forward to the main event. It's going to be weird if Brandon Moreno does lose, if my main event prediction stays true, because then he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and he has no division to go down to, and he's not going to go to bantamweight. He's going to be slaughtered at bantamweight. So weird position for Brandon Moreno to be in, considering he could arguably still be champion, which is very bizarre to even think of. But I'm going to go with Amir Albazi via decision. I could see a world where Moreno gets confident, stuffing the takedowns, and really gets his boxing going, his rip into the body, has good low kicks. Super gritty as well. But I think Albazi's really, really solid. I do worry about the layoff, but it's a year and a half. It's not like 5 years. That's an exaggeration. But you get my point. I'm picking Amir Albazi via decision. Looking forward to this card. I'll be doing a live stream on Saturday night if you care to join me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.